Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is a good day that the Lord has made. It's sunny, the weather's decent, and so we are gearing up for our Access Denied. And as you can see, it's not just Sonya and me, but we got powerful parent, Nashville Propel, powerful parent leader, Miss Kendall Moffitt. And we also got Nashville Propel parent organizing specialist, Mr. Driver, who is a powerful parent himself. But we wanted to kick off today. It is school choice week. We are fresh from the legislature. We're going into the optional school program with Metro Nashville Public Schools. And so we have tons of information, but just wanted to check in with everybody for about 15, 20 seconds. Like, how has this week started for you guys? Sonya, we'll start with you, then we'll go to Mr. Driver, and then we'll finish with Ms. Moffin. How's your week started?
Man, yo. Like, it's been a good week. Like you said, this is the day that the Lord has made. So I'm like excited to be here. We had a fabulous action on yesterday, and I just enjoy hanging out with the team, fighting for parents. That's what we get up to do. So I'm excited.
What about you, Mr. Driver?
It's been a great weekend. Coming off of a great weekend. This week been very, very interesting. Really excited after leaving Capitol Hill yesterday.
All right, and Ms. Moffin, our Nashville Propel powerful parent leader, how's your week started?
It's been very eventful as we're preparing to go into another IEP meeting for both of my kids. And during mapping, my daughter just wished they would put the same energy all year round into her as they do when they're trying to prepare for these map testing.
All right.
Hey. And I hear our baby in the background, our buddy telling me, we said, what's up?
Mm-hmm. So, again, you guys see it's usually two of us holding it down. Today we got 6. We multiplied it by 3 just to give you a little math for today, like PBS. But what we're asking, Torvis and I just got off the call with a parent, but we're asking, how was the week started for you? And then we'll end with Ms. Newman.
It's been a good week already. It's hump day. We've done a lot of different things. I talked to a lot of parents. There were a lot of issues, and even went on the hill yesterday. So we can start now good.
All righty. And Ms. Newman, coming off fresh decisions yesterday, how's your week started for you guys?
It's going well. Hello, everyone. I'm here with Miss Parker. Let me make sure I'm turning the computer the right way. Miss Parker, our family engagement coordinator, and Miss Hargrove, our office manager. But we're doing well. We're feeling good. A lot of good stuff happening, and just excited about all that 2022 will bring us.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And so, Sonya, talk about some of the things that you have just been focused on. It's school choice week for, the state. It's optional school week for Metro Nashville Public Schools. I know what we seek to do. We really seek to educate parents about what's going on. But talk about why you thought it was important to have a cast of people on from different perspectives today.
Man, thank you for that. So it's National School Choice Week, national. So we're talking about nationally. And then our governor just declared Tennessee. He made a proclamation that this would be National School Choice Week right here in Tennessee. And so what we know is having a choice is about being able to make informed decisions. A lot of parents say it's about freedom. And that I think that just reigns true in the life of Black children, in which we represent. And we've been talking about that, like with state legislators and people who make decisions on the Capitol Hill. Yesterday, we took about 10 parents up there, and it was an opportunity to develop our leaders to understand who makes the decisions and what are the processes. Like Thomas is going to talk about some of the questions that he had, but I was excited about going up there and having our team to learn. We all know that knowledge is powerful, and it was an opportunity for us to go up there and advocate for what we believe that all parents need, and that's a choice to be able to make a decision for their children that ensures that they have the opportunities to have a successful education. And we had an opportunity to see some children up there from Knowledge Academy, and that's always a joy to see children in a space actually looking in the eyes of the people who make these decisions to humanize the importance of parents having a choice. You muted, John.
Yeah, and we'll start with that, Thomas. I think one of the things before we really jump into School Choice Week and the optional schools program with Metro Schools is to really hear from Thomas and Torvis. I know they got to get back up and do some more organizing, but for Thomas, it was his first time being at the Capitol, walking around, brand new building. He was like, it's a lot going on up here, and he was quiet and he was trying to figure some things out. But just in the debrief, he really impressed me with what was running through his mind. But Thomas, if you could just give us kind of some of the things you saw and questions you had, just being your first time at the Capitol.
It was really great to see, talking about issues, researching issues, talking to parents about it, watching it on television. It's a lot different, literally being there. I really did enjoy it. I was able to ask certain questions. I wanted to know how, the breakdown of bills and policies, how do those things really work? Because for me personally, as a parent, I like to know when things are done, how it will affect me and my community and my situation. So it was a learning experience, I think, that parents should definitely become more involved in.
Thank you for that, Mr. Drive. And Torvis, I know Torvis, you talking to parents, you're organizing, you're walking and talking, but we could tell Torvis. I mean, Torvis met with the minority leader and had a really good conversation, but he was so savvy, he was able to bring out information that we have passed out to parents about our priority schools. But Torvis, like, how was this time you being there? Because I think this was the first time you were in the new building. There were new legislators that you met. And so how was your experience?
Our experience was different than last time. Like you said, there's a lot of new people. It's a new building. But there's a lot of moving bodies in there. A lot of different side conversations going on here and there. Even meeting with who we met with, just to be able to sit down and talk to this person and let them feel your personal story, how you feel about or where you came from dealing with the school choice. Even with the literature that we passed out, for him to sit there and look at it. After he saw it, he just kept looking down there like, yeah, man, something got to be done about this. So it was a good experience, and I mean, we're going back, and I want other parents to be involved and see the process and see what goes on, how these bills are put in place, how these people are lobbying each other, and all these sidebar conversations. So I think everybody should come with us on February 23rd.
But John, the other thing that I noticed is they was like, who are all those Black parents walking through this building? Because they're just not used to seeing us there, and we let them know we're coming back. And I just thought that was just something to mention, that that's something they don't usually see, and they want to know who we were. And people were really nice to us and was helping us to find things. But I also want to shout out Tennessee Can and Laura Hunt and Victor Evans for inviting us.
Yeah, I think it was, what you're referencing, one thing we teach in the fellowship, and Ms. Moffitt can agree, we teach is power in numbers. And so as you walk through the hall, one of the guys talked about is special interest. And you just see special interest, which is not necessarily a negative thing. It's just, if you're at the Capitol, you have a special interest in something and you want to get it job done and you want to get it passed. And for them to see parents having a special interest just in our kids and making sure our kids are not going to priority schools. Torvis talked about in his zone school district, He has a bottom 5% elementary, a bottom 5% middle school, and a bottom 5% high school. And it's not, he's not demonizing, but saying like, who would want their kid to attend the lowest performing school in the state from kindergarten to 12th grade? And it's just something wrong with that. And the state representative was taken aback. He was like, man, like, and he talked about where he sent his kids to school. He talked about what he believed in, but I could tell it was hard for him to believe that, this is happening.
And another thing, and even when we talked to the rep, he was talking about our campaigns, different campaigns we had, and different ways we educate parents, even with our registration and things like that. And looking through the pictures and on the walls, I said something to somebody about, man, some of these people are still here. These people have been here forever. And it's the same people still here on this hill. And it's like, okay, we need to start getting some of our people in these positions to be able to influence. Like we always say, if you have a seat at the table, you're on the menu.
And that comment was kind of funny because the photos were in black and white, but it was real. And when he said they still here, like he was looking at some pictures from the 70s and 80s. And, it's 2022. And some people who are on those pictures are still walking the halls.
Yeah. And to find out, like, when you think about decisions being made on behalf of the children in the state of Tennessee, we're talking about people who don't have the expertise, such as Ms. Lagra Newman, who's on here, who understands education. We're talking about people that don't even have children. And so parents, that's why it's important that we build a movement and we develop parents into powerful leaders, and making sure that our parents have the knowledge of what is going on around us, understanding getting out to vote, understanding who we're putting in these positions. And I'm not saying that person is a bad person because they're doing what they're doing, but we want to make sure that our voice is being amplified, because these decisions are being made about our children. And that's what choice is. And so we have to really ask ourselves, do we really even have a choice? John and Lagra and Miss Maupin and everybody on the call, like, do we really have a choice? Do we really have a voice in this?
Oh, that's a good question. And so what we want to transition now, and organizers, feel free to stay on, but I know you got some things coming on at 11:30. I want to take it and bring it back to you, Sonia. We can open up a conversation about this optional schools. I want you to give information about the optional school process, and we're going to be putting the links on here so parents can actually access it and see as you listen to us, like, how do you navigate through the process? And then, of course, we'll hear from Ms. Newman, who has the process, who she can talk through it as a school leader. And then with Ms. Maupin, Ms. Maupin and I have been talking about what schools, as her daughter is getting ready to transition out of middle school. She is serious about finding the best option for her kid for high school. And so I would love to hear from her after we hear from Ms. Newman about just how she's navigating the process.
Yeah, so it's National School Choice Week, but also there's an opportunity for open enrollment in all MNPS schools. And so Metro Schools has a period of open enrollment. I think it's from January the 24th to February the 11th, where you can either apply for a magnet school if your child meets the proficiency scores from 3rd grade to 5th grade. Also, being able to possibly go to a school that has a lower enrollment number and get on waiting lists to go to other schools that may not be your neighborhood school. And then our charter leaders, as we have a charter leader here, Ms. Newman, they have a separate process. And I think it's important that we inform parents about the difference so that they know where to go, so they know what to expect. And so we are happy to have Ms. Newman on here and her team to explain their process. And we will have Ashford Hughes here next Monday at 6 p.m. who will go through that application process with MNPS. But I want to make sure that we put the spotlight on our guest here. I want Ms. Newman to talk about her school, what she's doing, and then the opportunities for parents to be able to choose to go to the school that she has found it and is doing so well at it. So Ms. Newman, thank you for being here.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to be with you all. Just love the way that you engage our community and families. And thank you for this opportunity for us to tell a little bit about Purpose Prep. I see families also chiming in on the comments. So, hey, you all. Just thank you for your continuous support of Purpose Prep. So I want to just tell you briefly about Purpose Prep. Purpose Prep is an elementary school. We're located in Metro Center. We are intentionally in the North Nashville community, although as a charter school, we serve children throughout Davidson County. We are one of the highest performing schools in our cluster and have been ranked as a reward school twice. One year, we were in the top 5% for academic performance in the entire state. So very proud of the achievement of our scholars, very proud of the work that we're doing to really make sure that children receive the excellent education that they deserve and that they're capable of. And so we care deeply about our community and the work and are really advocates of choice. We really want to make sure that families know what their options are and that they're able to pick a school that is the best fit for their child. We actually, as a charter school, we actually have the same process as MMPS. And so I'll let our engagement team tell you a little bit more about that. But we did have the option to have a separate enrollment process outside of MMPS, but we chose to actually incorporate ourselves within the MMPS system to make sure that even more families knew about us as an option and that we were accessible through that process. So we enjoy being linked to MMPS in that way and making sure that families throughout the district know about us. But then we also do additional like recruitment and engagement. We go to daycare centers. If you have opportunities for us to come out and speak about Purpose Prep and share the words with your families, let us know. We'd be happy to participate in that. We were just at the Northwest Y this weekend for their grand opening of that beautiful playground. That's going to be such an asset to our community. So we're constantly engaging in our community, spreading the word and making sure that families know that there are options and that you can find a school that's a good fit for you. So I'll toss it now to our office manager, Ms. Hargrove, and she'll explain a little bit about the process regarding enrollment and choice.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ms. Hargrove. I am the office manager here at Purpose Prep. Yes, we are currently in the open enrollment phase. And so therefore, any students that are ages 5 through 5th grade, hopefully, will be able to attend Purpose Prep this coming school year. They will start out by completing an application. And as Ms. Newman said, the applications are located with school options under Metro Nashville Public Schools. Currently, right now, me and Ms. Parker, who you'll meet in a moment, are working together to ensure that any families that are interested, we send them an email, we direct them, we follow them through the steps, that we even invite them here to the school where we will log on with them, because we do have some families that may not be as tech savvy as others. So me and her always have what we call those special hours of time that we will work with anyone who's not tech savvy, who don't feel comfortable with completing an application online, because we want that to hinder them from getting their child or grandchild in the school like Purpose Prep. So the other things are ensuring that families know what is required, because they think that some people think charter schools are inaccessible to them. They think that their children aren't good enough to go there. They think just because we're a high performing school that their child has to can't apply because of our academics. And we open the doors to all children, and we have found that children that they feel like a low performing school has deemed unteachable, we bring them in and we show them that they are very much teachable. And it's just that you have to put it before them. So again, send anybody, if you have family members, friends, or want us to speak or work with a family or give them more insight on charter schools and how they work, please just have them to call our office. or to reach out through us through online, and we'll be happy to assist them in any way we can. So now I'll let you speak a little bit with our family engagement coordinator.
Hello, everyone. I am Anya Parker. Thanks so much for having us. And hello, families. I see you all there speaking and shouting us out. So glad to have you on here as well. So, as part of the enrollment team, Ms. Hargrove and I work together to recruit families, of course. And as she said, we support families in applying to Purpose Prep. We are part of the Metro optional school application. Those applications can be found on Metro's website. And we've also made the link available on our Purpose Prep website. So families can visit our website. There is a link to apply. There is also a link to provide an online inquiry form, and those forms come directly to me. So that I am able to communicate with families, answer any questions that they may have, support them with the decision to come to Purpose Prep. And I'm always happy to speak from a parent's perspective as well. Being that I had a son that graduated from Purpose Prep last year, was here from kindergarten through fourth grade, and it was definitely the best decision that I made for my son. Such a strong academic foundation. So he is now performing very well in middle school because of the preparation that he received at Purpose Prep. Again, families that come to Purpose Prep, most of them find out about our school through a word of mouth. So we're always encouraging our families to spread the word, encouraging our families to come with us at community events so that they can talk to other parents, because we know that word of mouth is the strongest way, to communicate feelings about a school. So we are here. We're happy to have you. We welcome anyone that's interested in applying to Purpose Prep. And hopefully we can have your child here from kindergarten through fifth grade. We are keeping our fingers crossed, very hopeful that we'll be able to add fifth grade next year.
Wow. So I heard some things that got me over here just excited. The high expectations. And that's what parents want to hear. Like, you guys said some things that refute some of the comments that I've heard publicly, like our children they're hard to teach. And I just love the expectations that you have for children. And we thank you for blasting that out into the air, right? Like we gotta say those things, and we gotta say the true things about our children. So thank you guys for everything that you're doing at Purpose Prep. I have a godson over there, and he is doing well, and I just thank God that he's able to be there with you guys. Miss Moppin, thank you for joining us. I think it's important, like, that we hear from you as a parent who just graduated from our fellowship, who is learning about the landscape of education. Like, what does choice mean to you?
It's a double-edged sword. I found out from other parents that I talked to, because it's really not a choice. If your choice is way in Bellevue and you live way on the other side of town, if you're working two jobs and you have to make that decision between your child's future and feeding your child, it's a choice, but it's not. But it's good to know it's there because it gives you hope.
That's beautiful. That goes to my original question. Do we really have a choice? Like, have we really defeated that conversation or ended that conversation around the country? I hear not having a choice and not having access to schools such as Purpose Prep is a problem. Having to drive across town is difficult for parents. But what I hear you saying is, we will fight for our children. We do what we have to do. And sometimes it feels like it's not a choice. And thank you for joining us and talking about that. I think it's very important for us to have those conversations, because when we stop talking about it, then we're going to stop working on it. And your voice is representing so many voices across Nashville. So thank you so much for bringing that up. Where's John Little? You on mute, John.
Back in the mix.
Back in the mix. John, like what does choice mean to you?
I think it's important. I think when you don't have a choice, for someone who just grew up here in Nashville, raised my kids in Nashville, have nieces and nephews who have just gone to school here, you realize that without a choice, it kind of determines your destiny. Mm-hmm. And for me, even going back to listening to the representative, listen to Torvis talk about it's a low performing school from kindergarten to 12th grade. It's sometimes it's hard to believe, but I'll tell you, it's a reality for so many families that we work with day in and day out. Torvis and I were on the phone up until 10:59 with a mom whose child was being railroaded, and the school couldn't. They really were trying to apologize and say we made the wrong decision, but they wouldn't apologize, and they were stigmatizing their kid, and she was just trying to fight for so we can have a future. And I tell you, one of my fondest things about even being on the school board, it hit me like the graduation was so exciting, like the kids were cheering. It was so much love in the room, but I also thought about the kids who were not getting the chance to graduate, or those kids who left the graduation and really didn't have a pathway, whether it was college or CTE or vocation. Like it was like, all right, like I've graduated, and that helps me keep my eyes on the prize, on like what are we doing. Like school is very important, but making that connection from post-secondary education and like helping kids just be able to survive in a city that's moving faster than they're moving.
Yeah, I mean, I received several like phone calls and texts at the beginning of the week asking for recommendations, asking, how do people, apply for a different school. So we wanted to make sure that we create a space where parents can get the information that they need. I never tell a parent what school to go to. Mm-hmm. Like that's not my job. Just like I don't want somebody to tell me what school to send my child to. What I want is a space where I can make an informed decision, where I can look at CJ and as I've looked at Jordan and Trinity and Sarah, and I look at them as an individual child, and I do think it's teamwork. I think it's about family getting together with those who are in education, who kind of have some knowledge about maybe what your child is struggling with, and then looking at your life circumstances to see what you can do as a parent. And I'm going to tell you something. It has been hard because of access, like Miss Maupin was talking about. We don't have a lot of high school choices. And so when I think about, do we really have a choice in the game? No, we're not there yet. Mm-hmm. We're just not there yet. And I think that these conversations are important so that we can grow like high quality choices. What we don't want to happen is to keep producing schools that are not effective, and schools that are not, doing what they need to do. And that's, we're not pro charter or traditional or pro private school. We're saying that parents should be able to make an informed decision, and they should have opportunities that are quality, that will make sure that their children are successful.
Yeah, and I want to go back to this parent, Candace, Miss Brewington. She says, I'm stuck with DuPont Halley because my engine on my car is gone. The culture at the school is so wrong when it comes to special needs kids. If I had a choice, then DuPont Halley would not be where I send my son. And I can remember Miss Brewington even saying, sometimes her kid gets lost, and so she has to put a tracking device in there. And that's what we mean by choice. Like, it's not demonizing. It's really saying it's like a relationship, right? Like when you're growing up, some people start dating in elementary. Some people don't wait until college, few in between. But you have a choice to make, right? And you start to see what works for you and what doesn't. And DuPont, they may be working for a lot of families, right? Some families may be in love with what's happening at DuPont. But for Ms. Brewington, she's saying it's a nightmare, but she doesn't have a choice to go anywhere.
John, the words "I'm stuck" grieve me. That grieves me. To be stuck, no way out. That grieves me. And I feel like it should grieve everybody.
Yeah.
It should grieve everybody.
You remember CCA back in the day before Metro got rid of their contract? The contract stated that they had to be able to fill a number of beds or they were going to have to pay CCA. And so, you know what government does? It was like, well, we're gonna make sure those beds are filled, whether it's driving on suspended license, don't have a tag, broken headlight. And so you saw people in jail, not necessarily for crimes, but it was making up to support a criminal system that victimized Black, brown, and poor people. And so when we look at the school system, like, and not demonizing, but we gotta just admit, right? We gotta admit we got some issues with supporting something that's not working and not wanting to do anything about it because it's too big to fail.
You know, I want to ask Ms. Newman, like, some of the things that we hear from parents are about safety and school culture and, of course, like academics. And I know that you guys like pride yourself on those things. Would you like to talk about some of the things that you're doing around safety and culture and communication and parent partnership?
Absolutely. Before I speak to that, I want to just name that I appreciate you all so much for speaking truth to power, because and John, you've said this a couple of times where you're saying, you know, I don't want to demonize. I don't think I think there's a lot of people who would try to say that that's what we're doing when we are speaking honestly about the failing state of schools. And I think that that's such an unfair rap to have when you're being honest that there are schools that are failing children. And until we can be honest about that and not feel like speaking that truth is demonizing them, then we're not going to make the progress. And that's exactly why a lot of people are able to keep the status quo. Oh no, you know, don't talk bad about, well, if nobody at the school can read and we don't speak honestly about that, then how are we going to hold them accountable to making the changes that they need to make to give our children what they deserve? And so we have to be honest and truthful and unapologetic about that truth. And that's why I appreciate the conversations that you all are pushing, because there's a lot of people that are bearers, that are protectors of a status quo that has always failed our children. If you look at the history of education in Nashville, pick a year where MMPS did right by Black and brown families. Mm-hmm. It definitely wasn't integration, if we want to even call it that, and desegregation, when we were sending our Black babies into schools where the teachers didn't even want them in the building, where lawmakers were figuring out adjustments to make and redlining to keep the school system segregated. And it definitely isn't this current era where you have lawmakers who are trying to suppress and oppress the knowledge that is going to empower us through knowing our history and knowing the discrimination that has taken place that continues to create a gap of achievement and opportunity in our city. So there's never been a highlight of a year where MPS has done right by Black and brown children. And if we don't face that honestly and say, we have a problem, we're in a state of crisis, what are we going to do about it? If you can't even have the conversation, how can I trust that we have the right people at the table that are really going to be having those difficult conversations to push the leaders, the teachers, the staff members to make the changes that our children need to be successful? And Purpose Prep will be the first to say that we don't have it all figured out. We're learning, we're growing. We've been reflecting hard, even navigating the pandemic. You know, we talked and said, like, our results were not where we wanted them to be. What are we going to do? What changes, what interventions, what adjustments are we going to put into place to make sure that our children get not only where they were before the pandemic, but even greater levels of success? And that requires introspection. That requires difficult conversations. That requires accountability. That requires those moments of saying, this is not enough. And there's just not enough people who are willing to have those conversations. And then they actually try to demonize the very people that are elevating these issues to the forefront to make sure that there is some level of advocacy that can take place for our families in school. So that's me on my soapbox, because I appreciate the work of Nashville Propel, and I appreciate you, John, because you are one of the only MMPS board members that are sitting there and saying, hey, our families are not getting what they need. And how do we have honest conversations about this? And there's a lot of people who would try to make you out to be like, oh, you know, don't say that, or that's negative. Well, are you okay with the status quo? Like, you're sitting here and acting like everything's okay, and families are struggling. Families are stuck, and that is not okay. And how do we have more representatives at the table who are okay with speaking truth, even if it means that their status is compromised, right? Because the reality is, if you're comfortable with the failure, then you're not willing to make any changes.
Right. Life continues to go on.
And on and on. And that's the other thing, you know, we're going up as Purpose Prep for our 10-year renewal. You know, I can't believe it's been that long. Thank God that we've been engaged in this work and been able to make the progress we've been able to make. And we're going for our 10-year, you know, we're proud of the successes, but we as a charter school are submitting to the district. Here is what we said we were going to do 10 years ago. And here is what we have achieved. And here are our goals for the next 10 years. Mm-hmm. What if every school had to do that to be able to stay open? Mm-hmm. Because there are schools in our district that have been operating for decades of failure. Year after year, decade after decade. And there's no change. There's no accountability.
Nope.
They just keep generations of children and families impacted by these failing schools, and nothing happens. So it would be great if every school had to say, this is what I've accomplished over the past 10 years. And based on this determines whether I am worthy to continue to serve my community. That's the accountability that we're held to. And I believe every school should be held to that, because that's what our parents deserve. Right. Don't continue to just fail our children and be able to do that for generations upon generations upon generations. That's just not okay.
And parents, we ain't got to take it. That's what she's saying. We don't have to take it.
Yep. So one of the things that I want to go back to, I want to say it was Miss Brewington. And then, you know, Miss Moffitt, I do want to hear from you, because I know you're going through very similar things. And on here, it you know, she comes on here a lot and she talks, but she says, I just sent y'all my son's MAP test, and what it said to improve his scores. He is on a 2nd grade level in MAP, and they think that I'm not working with him every day. He just does not get what they're teaching and won't allow me to change him over to a special needs diploma so he can work on more life skills instead of going to classes that he doesn't understand.
I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this again. It doesn't matter their disability. We do have some children that their disabilities are just very severe. But this is something, first of all, when federal laws are put around to protect these children, and that's a whole nother conversation of how they're still not being protected and they still don't have a choice, right? So that, you know, that whole choice conversation is a big deal for me, right? It means so much more than a school name. Means so much more. And Ms. Mop, I want to hear from you too, because we see a trend here. You know, we see a trend, and I'm so glad to have your voice to talk about our children with special needs, because they matter. And the way that the system is set up with the low expectations, when we see the genius and the greatness in our children, I want you to talk about that a little bit.
For me, when Sorry. Whew. This hits up close to home. Sorry. When we first entered the disability world, I saw that not only are Black kids are second-class citizens when it comes to education, and being a third-class generation of being disappointed by the Board of Education, to realize our disabled children are treated as third-class citizens. It's been very disheartening, and it's been a fight. It's been knowing how to word things and knowing, because as I tell parents with disabled children, how you word things on your IEP, it's just like going to jail. How you word something can determine whether or not you do 5 days in jail or 5 years in jail. And you have to be very picky and being informed and not getting the information, not having the things for my kids, because their scapegoat is that, at least with my son's situation, is that, well, he's not going to age out till he's 22. But if he can't count to 4, it don't matter if he stays in that till he's 100. If you just being an expensive babysitter, I don't need that. I can do that at home and know that he's safe and knowing he's being cared for and watched for. My daughter, in her case, you're trying to give her an adaptive diploma because it's just like a diploma. You're trying to say that my daughter might not be able to get a job, so you're okay with her being on 4th grade because she has some exceptional classes and she has general. You're saying that it's okay for her to graduate and go into high school on a 4th grade math level. You're going to get that out of her IEP because she can still work. Because I know it's Fortune 500 companies that are saying that our children can bring something to the table. So don't say that my child can't bring something to the table because maybe she processes things a little bit slowly.
Thank you for sharing your story. It's the story of many parents.
Yeah. We have a child now that's just now being able to get a communication device at 18 years old, and he's going to be leaving school at 18, not 20 like my child. So they're having to play catch up, and that's a lot of strain on the parents, especially if the parent's working and trying to take care of that child. And I understand Miss Candace's plight because I'm going through the same thing at the same school with my child.
We have a system failure. You talked about those conversations. Like if you don't ask a question a certain way, that's a system. That's because everybody in the system has been taught to answer the questions like so. I'll take, for instance, my daughter went to TSU to get her admission stuff done. And I'm in the car coaching her on what to say because I already knew, because of the system, the things that they were going to tell her, like giving her one answer and sending her all over the place to this person and that person, to people that can't even make the decision. And it was just so real. Like, I'm like, this is the education system. This is how it even happens in colleges and universities. And it's a system, and it's a lack of effort. It's a lack of caring. It's a lack of expectations. And it's just funny as you were talking about that. I'm like, God, it just happened. It's in higher education. It's a system failure. It's a system failure. Got a lot of work to do, parents. We can't do it by ourselves. And we thank God for school leaders such as Ms. Newman, who understands that the status quo is not, it's not going to be enough for our children. And we thank God for Purpose Prep for fighting for Black children, especially in North Nashville and all over Nashville. And parents, again, what you can do is you can log on to the MNPS optional schools application, and we'll put that link up again where you can register or apply at Purpose Prep. And I would do that quickly because it is a school with high demand. They don't exclude children, but they do have to have only a certain amount of kids in the school, I'm sure. Ms. Hargrove can probably speak to that about waiting lists and those types of things.
Yes. Currently, our kindergartners is where we definitely put the put the focus on, because we're trying to right now with this open enrollment bring in the scholars for kindergarten, which we focus a lot on, which is one of the reasons why we're pushing so hard to get those numbers increased with us adding fifth grade, because with our foundation that we lay in our school, entering in kindergarten is fundamental. It's the basis for the next 4 years of getting that purpose prep foundation. And for those parents who were like earlier, she asked the question about safety. Right now, with the situation of the world, a lot of people are wanting to make sure they're sending their child to a safe school. We have done such thing as put in air purifiers. We have shield guards on our desk. We have a cleaning crew in the building who's constantly wiping and cleaning down things all day in our bathrooms and our common areas to ensure that our staff and our children are safe. Our staff are constantly wearing masks. Everybody that enters the school must wear a mask at all times. We recently put in, we're changing over from cloth masks to the N95s or the KN95s to ensure that we're even more protected from the new virus that may come and the ones that are already out there. So if you are looking for a safe place to send your children, and that's also a deciding factor for you, here at Purpose Prep, we're doing all that we can to ensure that not only our children get that education that they deserve, but they're getting that education as safely as we could possibly make it here in our school. So again, if you're looking for a safe place to send your children to be educated, we are doing our best here to ensure that safety is very important to us, as well as the academics. So if you have friends and family who are struggling in that aspect of where to send their children because they're scared of them, catching COVID or having to deal with a constant the school shutting down or classrooms shutting down because everybody is infected. We have so far a great track record here of not having to shut down not one whole classroom. No, yes, we may have had cases, but they are few and far between. And most of them, when we do the close contacts, it's outside of Purpose Prep. So we have done well, and we hope to continue with the safety precautions that I named, that we will continue to be able to keep our doors open safely.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Ms. Moppet, did you have any questions for this team? Lager, do you have any questions for us? Like, how can we support Purpose Prep and the students and the staff? We are champions of this school, and we appreciate all that you guys do.
Thank you so much. Yes, we welcome any and all type of support. Again, spreading the word, posting about us on your social media outlets. Also giving us rave reviews on the great schools. We know that that's one of the first places that parents go to learn about a school. And so while we get a lot of positive feedback verbally, and we definitely appreciate it and it motivates us, it would mean the world to us if people could post online, so that families that are moving from out of state and go to those online platforms to learn about schools will see, hey, Purpose Prep is a great school. Are we a perfect school? No, we are not, but we are definitely making an impact in so many lives, not only our scholars, but their families as well, just with the work that we're doing as far as academics and also our community engagement. So definitely support us by spreading the word.
And do you guys have school tours?
We are not offering in-person tours at this time. However, I always direct families to our school's website and also our Facebook page, where we have conducted live tours of classroom instruction.
Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
John, do we have anything else left for the show today? Any last words, Ms. Newman? Ms.
No,
Hargrove,
just,
Ms. Parker?
take advantage of what the options are limited. They're not what they fully need to be to ensure that all families get what they need. But please make sure that you're taking advantage of the options that are available to you and be advocates. Join Nashville Propel. See how you can go to the Capitol and elevate, the needs that you have to our politicians and lawmakers. Really be active in the community, and whether you have children or not. It's not just about advocating for your children, it's advocating for other children in our community. I feel like, as a community, we really can continue to come together and really make sure that all of us are well, everyone's taken care of. And if everybody isn't getting what they need to be, it's a problem that we all need to be engaged and invested in.
Yes. We all should be losing sleep, as I say. Every last one of us should be losing sleep. John, do we have anything in closing we want to talk about? I think John done left us. Well, I'll say this. We have our speaker series on Monday evening at 6 p.m. where we have Ashford Hughes. He is a director of diversity and inclusion with MNPS, and he will be here to talk about the application process and walk us through it for those of you who need to have a step-by-step visual of how to register online, and we'll have more details about the different options available within MNPS. This concludes our Access Denied. Thank you to our guests for joining us, and we appreciate you. I hope you guys come back. This conversation was deep, and I really enjoyed it. Somebody done made me cry on here. I'm glad I didn't have no mascara on. Y'all know I'm a big crybaby, but when I hear a parent say that they are stuck, I know what that means, to be stuck, and I hate it. So thank you guys for joining us. We love you, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.